always enjoy playing Hammersmith Odeon. It's usually slightly nerve-wracking because it's a London date and there's always more pressure on you, I think, mostly because all your friends come. But I enjoy touring tremendously. It's always great fun for me, and it's something that I need to do to get my response back from the audience so I can keep in touch with them. So, and this time at Hammersmith was especially enjoyable because Peter Bardens and Mel Collins were there, a lot of friends were there, and even though we were filming it, it was a very relaxing gig for me, and I really did enjoy it.
One does tend to find a lot of egos in groups, though, big egos. Why is that?
Well, I think any profession that actually is in the public eye, you know, you're bound to have egos. It was something that I had quite a lot in my earlier days, you know, trying to prove myself to myself basically and to the world. And I think once, as you get older, you tend to mellow, and you don't, you know, it's not so important to be the star. I think you become more confident. You know, you can sort of sit back. I think because a lot of egos are very, you know, they do stem from insecurity, although that might sound that I'm contradicting my last statement, but you know, most people with huge egos are quite insecure. Well, we've always been a band that changed quite often in personnel and in our musical direction a bit, although we've usually kept the thread of what Camel is all about. See, Camel to me is a style of music rather than who is actually playing it. It's a style of music and a feeling. So, and the fans have been great. They go with that. They expect change really now. I mean, you know, when you mention Camel to them, they will expect a lot of change, and it makes life interesting for us. We have to progress forward, although I think most fans don't really want you to change. They want you to stay the same until you die. And you know, me, I need to actually progress and change. Otherwise, I become stagnant, and it's no longer enjoyable.
What is your honest opinion of the music industry after 11 albums?
It's much harder now. It's much more short-term. Most of the record companies nowadays are interested in turning over a quick buck, which in a way is very hard on young musicians that are starting, because, you know, they'll get signed for one single, and if the single works, then hooray, they'll do an album, carry on. But if they don't, they're dropped. And whereas, say 8 years ago, the industry was much more interested in actually building their artist, and so that their life expectancy was 10 or 15 years, and which I thought business-wise makes good sense. You know, you have an artist that's going to last for 10 or 15 years because they've grown, and the record company are trying to help them grow. And nowadays it's very much an economic situation where it's money. They need money nowadays, and I find that very hard. I think that's not a good situation for the record industry to be in. And that's why you got such a big turnover of groups. You know, it's just because they have a couple of hits, and then let's move on to something else. They're not interested anymore in supporting their artist. It's quite a hard world.
One of the songs on the album is called Pressure Points. What are your pressure points?
My pressure points? Surviving. Really. I mean, because it's hard to survive, and because you need a certain amount of money to keep on making records. It's very hard to do so in this day and age. I mean, there's pressure from all sides. You know, the record company always want you to do the hit single. And I always write music from what I feel, my own experiences. I don't sit down and say, all right, today I'm going to write a hit single. It's what I want to do. And I've been, for the last 10, 12 years, I've been playing the game, if you want to call it a game, with my rules. And I've been very lucky that I've survived so far playing the game by my rules. I know what the rules are, but I don't wish to play the game with their rules. That makes sense. I've been to Berlin several times, and it's always been a place that's interested me, and I've had quite strong emotional ties with it, which I can't explain why, but it's always interested me as a place. And it also ties in with Camel a lot, because when I started writing the album, I was trying to think of a way of incorporating all the changes that Camel have been through. We have been through numerous changes, and some have been happy ones, some have been very traumatic, but they've been changes, and it's about survival in Camel and keeping on. And also a hell of a lot of stories that I was reading at the time about when the wall went up and all that, it was the same sort of thing, you know, with stories about people leaving their loved ones behind and going forward, making a tremendous decision in their life and actually surviving. And so it's very much the same thing, really. The new album is about Camel and it's about Berlin.